Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, with some news that, I'll be honest, I'm not happy that I have to talk about this morning. Charles Snowden was arrested for DUI late last night, and all we're going to talk about is everything that we know right now, what the Raiders have said, and then I'm going to give you my opinion at the end of today's show of what the Silver and Black should do with number 49. So I just literally woke up. I appreciate everyone, all the well wishes. Believe me, it's great. I don't want to talk about that due to the significance of what I'm discussing here on today's show. But when you think about a guy like Charles Snowden, this is a player that every single person amongst Raider Nation was rooting for in the preseason, a player who's been busting his balls off the entire season, a guy that you got to love rooting for because he's faced all odds. I don't know if anybody thought that he was going to make the roster, and he figures out a way to make this team, which is why I feel absolutely heartbroken that I have to talk about Charles Snowden being arrested and charged for driving under the influence late last night. So according to 8 News and Las Vegas reports, officers booked Snowden into the Clark County Detention Center early Tuesday morning and released him. This is from an article from Pro Football Talk. Police stopped Snowden after receiving a report about a suspicious vehicle, and he was ultimately given a misdemeanor charged of DUI of alcohol and or controlled or prohibited substance, which is Snowden's first offense. The 26-year-old Snowden signed with the Raiders practice squad a year ago, and then he's played in all 13 games this season, 7 starts, has been on the field for 36% of the Raiders' defensive snaps and 30% of the special team snaps. The reason why this is significant, DUIs in today's day and age, if you're getting a DUI, grow the hell up. Get an Uber, figure out a way. Nobody's impressed by you zipping around Las Vegas, driving under the influence. You know what people are impressed by? Buying an Uber, get an XL, get a black, get something, because the fact that people are still doing this shit with everything that has happened around the Raiders is ignorance. And I mean it, Charles. I know a lot of people that say nothing but good things about Charles Snowden, and he is a phenomenal human being that made a really stupid decision. Because if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders, you got to sit down with Snowden. And there was a statement released by the Raiders that said, the Raiders are aware of the incident involving Charles Snowden and have been in contact with the NFL and local authorities. The club will not comment further as this is a legal matter. The Raiders are 2-11. This season is not going the way that anybody wanted it to go. I don't care what anybody says. Do I want us to find a franchise quarterback? Yeah, you're damn right. We've all wanted a franchise quarterback. But in a 2-11 season, when you've lost 9 straight games, and you're trying to realistically show the Raiders, show the NFL, show a team that you're trying to probably buy time for, like, hey, maybe I want to be back next season if I have a new head coach, if I have a new general manager. This ain't the way to do it. This ain't the way to do it, especially when you go back and you look at all the other players and all these other incidents that have happened in Las Vegas. The big one, Henry Ruggs. I said multiple times, if a player gets a DUI on the Raiders, you immediately cut him. Get rid of him. When you have a situation where a player like Ruggs kills somebody like Tina Tinter, R.I.P., never forget that name, and obviously the dog as well, the Raiders then are put on a little bit higher of a pedestal of, all right, if you're going to be in Las Vegas, if a situation's like that going to happen, there's got to be like a no BS policy. The Raiders have a no BS policy when it comes to domestic violence due to Fred Bilenikoff's daughter many, many years ago. They will not hire anybody that has a domestic violence issue. I think the Raiders honestly got to start considering the fact that you need to put into consideration a non-BS DUI statement here for this team. If you get a DUI on this football team, you're no longer a part of this team. And I know it sounds crazy because it's always like, oh, if a player's really good, we'll figure out ways to make it work, because that's usually how the NFL goes, right? Like, if you're a good player, I will turn a blind eye. We'll turn a blind eye and we'll be like, okay, it's fine. But when is it going to be, like, does the Henry Ruggs situation have to happen again? Like, does that have to happen? Because last year, or a few years ago then, Nate Hobbs got into some trouble, right? Nate Hobbs got into some trouble, was pulled over on the side, another DUI incident. Roderic Teamer, last season, was cut by the team for a DUI incident. Josh Jacobs, I don't know what the whole situation there with him was, but reminder, it was after a game, it was late. He was driving to the airport, got into a little bit of an automobile accident, and ended up splitting his head wide open. Earlier this offseason, Janarius Robinson got in trouble with an unknown substance and got hit with a DUI. So my question is this. Should the Raiders cut Charles Snowden in a season that you're 2-11, in a season that's just wrapped in a whole bunch of just BS type of stuff? Should the Raiders cut Charles Snowden? This is the pinned comment on today's show. This is the number one question that I want all of y'all to answer, and I'm going to answer it after this YouTube ad break. If it was up to me, if I was Antonio Pierce, if I was Tom Telesco, I would cut Charles Snowden. But you know what? I think what the Raiders are really going to have an interesting situation here is this, because I don't know if Antonio Pierce can cut Charles Snowden. Because then I'm going to go, well, why didn't you cut Janarius Robinson? A player that hasn't played nearly as well as what Snowden did this season. A player that plays the exact same position as Charles Snowden. A player that is not as liked and as loved in that locker room as Charles Snowden. So what Antonio Pierce is going to have to do, and I'll tell you this right now, if I'm a young player, if I'm a parent of a young player, and I'm not trying to say that because of Dion and Shador and all that, but don't you want your head coach to have control of a situation? Don't you want your head coach to be kind of like in charge of all the players? And AP can talk the talk, AP can yell Raiders, and AP can act like he's one of these big bad dudes. But earlier this season, Janarius Robinson had a DUI, and he remained on the team. That's Antonio Pierce's decision. I do not agree with it. I know that the Raiders have had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the football. But in a 2-11 season, if I'm AP at this point, I think you got to lay your foot down a little bit here and show that, you know what? I can be the dad. I don't always have to be the stepdad. And, that's kind of where it's tough sometimes for a head coach who was an intern to now be able to get the ball rolling here a little bit, where I hate the fact that I'm talking about this. And I wanted my first video to be back and be a happy-go-lucky. I might be able to join tonight's live show depending on how my doctor's appointment goes here a little bit later today. I won't be the host. That's all going to be Chugs and Cullen. I might just be a sidekick. But damn it, I am mad that I have to make this video. But I have to make this video because I feel like I'm not doing my job as a human being. I feel like I'm not doing my job as the host of the Raiders Report. I feel like I'm not doing my job because clearly this is an issue. Mark Davis, mandate. I mean, you gotta do something where players are gonna have to start taking Ubers out. What's crazy is Raiders players can get free Ubers. Raiders players get free drivers. It is already accounted for in part of their contract. So yet, why is it year after year after year are we still facing this bullshit, man? It is infuriating. It is just ticking me off. And I don't want to hear when the Raiders moved from Oakland, you knew that this was going to happen in Vegas. Shut the hell up, man. You're talking about millionaires all over the city. Any big city can get any type of big issue. I get what Vegas is. I get it's the bright lights. It's a party city. I understand that. But when you're making millions of dollars, and even for a guy like Snowden who's making $965K, $965K is a lot of effing money. And you could do a lot of dumb things with that type of money in Las Vegas. I get it. But you got 4 games left. And you got 4 games left to try to prove to a team that you deserve to be back next season. You got 4 games to prove to an organization that you want to still play for the Raiders. And maybe you don't want to play for the Raiders. I don't know. But I'll tell you this. If I'm a team looking at what Charles Snowden has done this season, and he's put up some good numbers, but why the hell would I bring in a guy who just had a DUI on a team like the Raiders who have had all these issues before? That just tells me that you don't think. You're selfish. And I'll tell you this, because I know Charles is a really nice guy. And I know a lot of people really, really love Charles Snowden. And like I said, I've heard nothing but good things about him. But you did a selfish move last night. And when you rocked with that silver and black, when you rocked that emblem, that shield, we got to get it back to a point where that means something. And even though this is a lost season, and even though the year hasn't gone, and I'm sure the players are frustrated, I know Max is frustrated, I know a bunch of the guys are frustrated, hell, I know the fans are frustrated. But doesn't mean you can do stupid shit like this, man. Doesn't mean you can do stupid shit like this. I'm not going to ask for anybody to do nothing else on this video. I want y'all to share your comments down below because I want the Raiders to see this video. I know a lot of people from the Raiders watch this show. I know a lot of people like Deion Sanders watch this show. But what do we have to do? What is the message? What do the Raiders organization have to do to get it to a point where we stop hearing about this. Like, I just got a text message from one of my friends, and he's joking, but I bet you're going to get a text message very similar from some of your friends. I bet you a few Raiders players probably are going to get a similar message of, you can't have a Raiders season without a DUI. That's a sad message that I just got. And you know what? Everyone's sitting here going right now like, yeah, that is a sad message. But it's kind of a true message, and that's the way that this thing has been. Sometimes you got to lay down the law. Sometimes you got to put your foot down. And if cutting a player like Roderic Teamer isn't enough, if giving a suspension, to whoever isn't enough, I don't know what the Raiders have to do. I don't know what the NFL has to do. And I don't really like when the NFL has to step in. But I do think that you're about to get into a situation here sooner rather than later of what is it going to take for the Las Vegas Raiders to stop getting DUIs, because you've had multiple players now. Multiple players since the Henry Ruggs situation. When the Henry Ruggs situation happened, I'll never forget it. Walked into work, you're hearing all these crazy stories, and it's giving me chills even talking about it. Quite frankly, especially, you think about that family. I mean, it's the holidays, man. They think about this stuff all the time. What is it going to take for us to stop doing this stupid bullshit? Get an Uber. Stop trying to rev your engine. Nobody has ever thought it's cool, because when you see suspicious vehicle on the Las Vegas Strip, I think everybody has a picture of what that looks like in their head. It's some guy probably racing up and down the road, squealing his tires, doing some dumb stuff. I have never thought in my entire life, oh, well, that person doing that over there, squealing their tires, that's a really cool person. No, nobody's ever thought that in their freaking life. So let's grow the hell up here. Let's start acting like adults. Let's call a freaking Uber, because if I got to report one more time about a Raiders player doing something with a DUI, I might lose my mind. Now, we did just get a little bit of an update here as I'm filming this video, and per reports, Snowden is not required for a court appearance post-arrest or bond, and he did not have a probable cause hearing or a scheduled arrangement. Per Paul Gutierrez, a status check was scheduled for April, though no attorney was listed to represent Snowden in the court of record. Now, you hear all this stuff. You see the stories. I'm just disappointed, man. I'm disappointed. I feel like a dad who their kids just let him down, right? I'm sad, dude. I am. This pisses me off. I wish this wasn't my first video back. But my job here is to keep you guys up to date on all the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfortunately, the Raiders this season have been a lot of bad and have been a lot of ugly. Snowden, here's what I'll say to you. I hope you get the help you need, because clearly you need some sort of help in order to be doing this type of bullshit at this point in your career with everything that has happened around the Raiders. If you're saying, oh, I don't need help, look yourself in the mirror. You need a reality check. I think for Raiders captains out there, you need a team meeting. I think for coaching staff, everybody, you need a team meeting. And you need to get into a room and you got to go, if we're ever going to be that team that people want to play for, if we're ever going to be that team where we're trying to do something a little bit different here and we're trying to, be great and go above and beyond, we got to also do the little things better. And the Raiders aren't doing the little things better. So I hope that I never have to talk about this again. I think we can all agree that we hope that we never have to talk about this again, because if another situation happens like the Henry Ruggs situation, I don't know what I would do, dude. I don't know what I would do. Before I go out of here, I want everyone, seriously, all right, and I mean this. If you don't already have a Lyft app, freaking download the Lyft app. If you don't have the Uber app, download the Uber app. There's an app called Alto. If you're a woman that's watching this, and you're like, I don't feel safe driving in an Uber or whatever, there's an app that's called Alto. Alex uses it all the time here in Dallas. Let's be better human beings. Let's be better people. It's the holidays. We can't be doing stupid shit like this. Not even just the holidays. Today's day and age, there's no excuse for a DUI. No excuse for a DUI. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go eat breakfast. I'm going to go hang out with Alex and Chuck for a little bit. I have a doctor's appointment here in a few hours. They're going to test out my eye. And there's a chance that I'll be back for Thursday Night Football with Jeremy Chuggs, with Cullen. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got those notifications turned on. And I'll see you guys a little bit later tonight. Charles, best of luck to you, dude. Raiders, if there's any more updates on this, I'll try to do my best to make a short Just trying to give you guys some updates around this situation, but really, really sad the fact that I have to talk about Charles Snowden being arrested for DUI. If you guys want more updates here around the silver and black, click that subscribe button right here. I promise you, I got you covered, whether it's me, whether it's Jeremy Chugs. Nobody's going to keep you up to date like the Raiders Report. If you want even more videos from me, you can click this button right over here. It's going to be even more content. And then you can click this button over here for even more videos. We try to put out a video every single day. We've put out a video every single day for 5 years. That shows commitment to excellence. Peace out, much love, and reminder, call a car, call an Uber. What's funny is I can't see how to end this video.